Hello, I'm John Bachman. Violence in Berkeley for the second straight night. Protesters demonstrating against the police-involved killings in both New York and Ferguson, Missouri, threw bottles and rocks at police officers. They set garbage on fire and broke windows. One protester who was trying to stop the vandalism was apparently hit with a hammer. Police also say some small explosives were thrown. They responded with tear gas. At least 5 people were arrested. In L.A. overnight, more than 250 firefighters have been battling this blaze right here. It's been ripping through several buildings, including an apartment complex under construction. Parts of 2 freeways and several surrounding streets have also been shut down, though so far no reports of any injuries or anything on what caused that fire. A bit of an odd sight in the streets of a Chicago suburb last night. Lots of people in costumes milling about. They had been evacuated from a hotel in Rosemont after someone intentionally released chlorine gas there. Nearly 20 people got sick and had to be taken to local hospitals. No word on who set it off or why. The costumes, at least we can explain that. That hotel was hosting the Midwest Fur Fest convention where thousands gathered to celebrate their love of these animal costumes. Meantime, a half-dozen terror detainees released from Guantanamo Bay are now about to settle into their new lives in the South American country of Uruguay. And they're being settled there as refugees. The 6 were the first to be transferred to South America from the prison. They were all captured 12 years ago, suspected of having ties to al-Qaeda, but they were never charged. And security teams at U.S. embassies around the world on high alert right now ahead of a report expected this week from the Senate Intelligence Committee. That report expected to include graphic details about CIA interrogation techniques, and there are fears it could stoke attacks. According to the New York Times, the report's also expected to claim that the CIA misled the Bush administration about its use of torture. And Israel's prime minister says the extension of talks over Iran's nuclear program should be put to good use. Speaking via video to a weekly security conference in Washington, Netanyahu says pressure needs to be ramped up on Iran to give up its atomic capabilities.
The November 24th deadline for an agreement is come and gone. That's fortunate, because a deal was not signed last month that would have effectively left Iran as a threshold nuclear power.
Well, Secretary of State John Kerry, who also spoke at the conference, says America's commitment to Israel stays at the top of their minds while negotiating with Iran. And outgoing Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel is working his way back to the U.S. after an unannounced visit to Afghanistan. He's been in Kuwait for meetings with military officials there. It's almost certain to be one of his last trips after submitting his resignation last month. And for college football fans, we now finally have our Final Four. The first ever college football playoff bracket is set. On New Year's Day, Oregon will play Florida State in the Rose Bowl, and Alabama will take on Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl. The winners will then play for the national championship on January 12th. Good luck to all those teams. We're back with another Newsmax Now update in 30 minutes. Now back to America's Forum.